Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're regular here, you know I review many photographic, audio and video related products. But today we're taking a second look at a camera that I recently purchased, actually it was a week ago. And the one we're looking at, as you may or may not know, is the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. And here it is, a fantastic piece of kit. I'm really enjoying using it. Obviously there's a lot of videos online about the Cinema Camera 4K. But this is the first time I've ever owned it, and I've had it a week or so. I went out on a recent shoot to a local heritage museum, a local railway museum, and I got some great shots, some really nice footage. And I went there, A, because it's indoors, so that was handy in the winter because it's really wet and miserable here in the UK. And secondly, there's a lot of low light exhibits in there. In fact, there's some exhibits that are almost in darkness. So it was a great opportunity to see how well this camera handled in a low light situation. And I think it handled pretty damn well. In fact, I think it handled extremely well. I did make some mistakes. And you know, those were obvious. I was going to make mistakes, and what I did, I cranked the ISO up too high in some locations and it got quite noisy. But what I also then done, I realized that, and kept the ISO quite low, underexposed. I was actually underexposing by quite a bit, and I'm going to show you on my computer over there in just a moment what I mean by this. And because this camera shoots, let's turn it on, I can show you. This camera shoots in ProRes or Blackmagic Cinema RAW, Blackmagic RAW. And if you look at the menu structure here, you can see here I've got it set to ProRes, and in fact that's better. You can see I've got it set to ProRes, but you can select Blackmagic RAW, and there's different flavors, whether it be highly compressed, low compression, or whatever. I shoot ProRes for one simple reason. Getting back to ProRes, there's 4 levels of ProRes you can shoot in. You can shoot HQ, 422, LT and proxy. I shoot standard ProRes 422. That suits my needs fine. I don't need anything higher than that. And obviously that shoots in a log profile. I couldn't think what I was saying then. It shoots in a log profile, which is Blackmagic log profile. And when you edit, you can either download a LUT. I downloaded a free Blackmagic LUT, which you can drop over your footage. I'll show you what I've done there. Or you can do it manually, which I do as well. So I'm not a color grader, so I'm not into color grading. So I'm not the best person to show you how you do proper color grading. In fact, I'm nowhere near the best person to show you how you do it. But this camera is so simple. Setting up the menu structure and setting up how you want it to behave is really good. And because it's all touchscreen, it's so easy to navigate through the menu and through the settings. I really do like that. And you know, like formatting the SD card, absolute doddle. Or the compact flash card, it takes not compact flash, CFast 2 card. So you just tap on the so if you want to format the SD card or the other one, just tap on that, and that brings up both the internal drives. So you've got your SD card showing, and you've got your CFast 2 card showing. So cool, I've got 3 minutes left on my SD card and 35 minutes left on me CFast 2, I keep saying compact flash, CFast 2 card. So you just tap on the area you want, that'll now bring up that, and I can format that card. So go into that and you just format the card and go through the, you know, the process to do that. Very simple, very intuitive, very easy. And what I also like is let's start that recording. So if you look at the main screen, you've got all your, as long as the lights don't, you can't terribly see that very well, I'm afraid, because of the lights, but you can see along the top here, it displays all your main functions, what the recording is, how much time is left, what's on the SD, that's recording now, what's on the SD card or your CFast 2 card, your audio levels are at the bottom here. Everything is so clean and easy to see. I suspect they've been able to do that because it isn't a hybrid camera. They haven't had to worry about all the functions that a stills camera would need. So, you know, because of that, it's nice, and it's a nice clean layout. On the top here, you've got your 3 assignable function buttons, which is great. And you can assign them to focus peaking, to zebras, exposure, whatever you want to assign those function buttons to. And then you got on here your ISO, shutter speed and white balance along the top there, which is brilliant. I love the white balance setting as well. Blackmagic have thought a lot about how they're going to lay this out. They really have put a lot of thought into the structure, the menu structure, the layout, and how easy it is to use. I mean, I'll give you an example with white balancing. So let's go into... let's go out the main menu. So we go out the main menu and we want a white balance. So again, on the top here, hit the white balance button, and you've got your various parameters along here. So if you just want a white balance, tap on auto white balance. You stick a white piece of card in the area where the box is, and hit the update white balance button, and then that'll update it. That is so simple and intuitive. There's no fiddling around, is there? That is just really quick and easy when you're out on location. I didn't do that. I left it to continuous white balance because I basically forgot. So I left it in continuous white balance, and that's fine because I was shooting in ProRes log profile, so I could adjust for white balance after the event. And I didn't need to too much really, to be honest. It was pretty damn good. It takes 2 cards, which are in the side here. So in the side we have 2 slots for your 2 cards, and we've got in there your SD card, standard SD card. Make sure it's a fast enough one for read and write speeds, and you've got your CFast 2 card. I've got a 128 gig SanDisk card. That gives you about half an hour in ProRes 422. It'd be less than that if you use ProRes HQ. But ProRes 422 is fine for me. Now, I haven't shot Blackmagic RAW. I mean, this camera is brilliant in Blackmagic RAW apparently, but I haven't shot that because you really do need to get used to DaVinci Resolve. I've been playing with DaVinci Resolve, but I'm no means, proficient with it. So I found it easier because I'm working with a Mac anyway, and I had it in Final Cut Pro to use ProRes 422. You can buy a plugin to, I know Final, who is it? Oh, I'm not sure now. I put a link in the description, in the comment section below, to a company that does do a plugin for Blackmagic RAW. Color Finale, that's what it is, Color Finale. They do a plugin for Blackmagic RAW. I haven't paid for it because I'm not using Blackmagic RAW just at this moment in time, but I will be using it at some point. So that is basically the camera. On this side, you've got your HDMI ports, your microphone and headphone jack on the top here, 3.5mm microphone jack, headphone jack. You've got your HDMI ports, and you've got your USB-C input for power delivery, and for exporting the footage. You've got a mains power supply, and you've got your XLR adapter, 3-pin XLR connector. I don't like these flaps. I'm really finding these flaps very irritating. If there's one irritating thing I've found about this camera so far, it is these flaps. But hey ho, nothing's perfect, is it? There we go. Let's not worry about them. Getting back to XLR, that's the interesting thing, because this has got XLR. You can get a cable. Basically, it goes from normal XLR like that. It goes into your microphone, and then it's got the mini XLR pin that goes into the camera. So that's, fine and dandy, and that plugs into the side of the camera. But what I really like, and I haven't seen any camera that does this. Once you've got an XLR lead plugged in, if you've only got the one plugged into the side there, it is brilliant because you can mix the microphones. So you can use one of them for the XLR input, and then you can set up it so the other microphone is the camera microphone. So you can mix and match, and that's great because you might want ambient noise or a wild track to use, and that's where the camera microphone would come in handy. Plus you can plug in an XLR mic, so you've got best of both worlds. Or you could use both channels, left and right channels, coming from two different XLR microphones. It's very configurable. Everything is so configurable. And again, very easy to adjust your audio levels. No fiddling around with menus. Look, I'll show you. On the bottom here, as I said, you've got your audio indicator. You just tap it, and that brings up your indicators here, which you just slide, oops, it's gone, which you just slide up and down for what you need. Isn't that good? Isn't that, well, it's better than good, isn't that excellent? That is so, so useful, so, so handy to use, so easy to use. I'm really, you know, everything about it is great. I'm loving it. I do wish it had a tilty-wilty screen. I know that would make it a bit fatter, maybe a bit bigger. That would have been really handy. But when I went out, all I used was an external 5-inch monitor. I just used one of these little things, one of these little Lilliput 5-inch monitors. That was fine and dandy. That done the job. Very lightweight. Took the same Canon batteries, LPE6 batteries, as what the camera takes. So I only had to keep in my kit bag one set of batteries. But I did find that the battery life, as everybody has said, isn't very good. It takes these Canon LPE6 batteries, which you know, easy to get. I mean, I got two of them for 20 quid off Amazon, so they're not cheap to, not dear to buy. So I just bought a couple of these, cheapo batteries, and they're okay. But I wasn't getting an hour. I was getting about 45-50 minutes. Actually about 45 minutes of filming out of it, but I was switching between slow motion and normal speed, and that's another, so simple to do. Everything about this camera is so easy to set up. It's ever so easy to switch between high frame rate and your normal speed. So that's at the moment set to 24 frames a second, 24 frames a second. Now, if I hit the HFR button, that's now on the 24p timeline, but it's shooting at 50 frames a second. So obviously that's that's slowing it down, and that's just one push of a button, and that's now in high frame rate. One push of a button. The only thing is that sometimes I forgot that I had it in high frame rate, and it's not like obvious on the back of the screen. It does show it. It is there. But unless you notice it, unless you're really looking, you forget that it's there. So I did about half a dozen shots in slow motion, which was fine. There was nothing moving in the museum anyway. It was a static museum. So that high frame rate is ever so simple. Just push of a button to go from standard to high frame rate. And that again, brilliant. Love it. It wasn't really anything from the usability that really niggled me. Yeah, the flaps on the side were niggling and still are niggling. I find them annoying. And the fact I had to put an external monitor on the top was, a little bit annoying. But other than that, great to use. And I say the handling is lovely. The grip is really, really nice. So, yeah, all of that is absolutely fine and dandy. Now, let's have a quick look. Let's go over here. Is that following me? I'm playing with my phone on a gimbal, and it should be following me. There we go. It's following me now. But it don't look very good, does it? It's not too bad. It could come down a bit. There we go. So there we go. Right, now what we got here is just some clips I put on the timeline from, well, yesterday actually. Yesterday's filming at Steam Museum in Swindon. Now, if we just look at this one, for example. Now, if we look at the RGB parade on the left here, I've made some adjustments. So I've increased the highlights, I've lowered the shadows, and I dropped a white balance plug-in on it. Not that I needed to do that. If we look at how that came out of camera, so that's the log profile that came out of camera. So very, very flat, no information. It doesn't look like there's any information there at all, is it? It's just a really nice flat profile. But because of that, you're able to, you can see here actually, very underexposed, which I shouldn't have done really. I should have exposed it correctly, but I didn't. It's very, very underexposed because it needs to be up to around about the 100 mark. But with a little bit of editing, you know, I've been able to push that right back up. I haven't got it set right. I haven't got the white balance spot on, but it's punchier. Just looks really nice. The images that come off the camera, say, are really, really nice. Now, if we look at this one, you know, you can see here that, hang on, let's just get back, right. If we look at that one, skin tones are lovely. The whites are really nice. Comes out really good. Ignore the shaky cam. But again, if we turn the effects off, that's how it's come out of camera. Really, really flat. And it doesn't take long at all to, you know, colour grade, you know, these shots. Now, you could drop a LUT on. Most people would actually drop a LUT on rather than mucking around with all this. And you can do that in Final Cut Pro. You can do that two ways, actually. So let's bring up the, sorry, not that. Let's bring up the original clips. So here are all the original clips. You can see here that they are all very flat, which it would be. Everything was shot in a, you know, log profile. But let's get rid of the. So what we can do, you can drop a LUT on one of two ways. So you can either do it at clip level. So if you look at the clip there, go to information, and then if you look under here, camera LUT, none. And you can drop in Blackmagic Design 4K, Design Film 4K, and that drops a LUT on, and that enables you to start, gives you a starting point to actually start grading it. So that's already increased, you know, increased the contrast, brightness, white balance doesn't look quite right. So you do a little bit playing around with that. And you can see the blues are too low there, so you do need to do a fair bit of playing around with that. But I mean, that's easy enough to do. Let's get rid of that for a minute. We can bring the shadows down. Bring the shadows down, but we take the blues up. Bring the reds down a bit, so they're, you know, balance them out. And then take the highlights up. So I've got a bit of a cold today. So we take the highlights up to about there, but we need to bring the blues up to match. You see what I'm getting at? You know, it's not that complicated to do. I mean, I'll make it quick and easy, dropping an effect on, drop a white balance thing on. We can adjust the white balance. I think that was probably what would have been white. That would have been. There we go. Again, lovely cinema look. Now, I know there is an issue with a lot of people thinking, because this camera has got Micro Four Thirds sensor. Let's come back over here. Because this camera has got a Micro Four Thirds sensor, you can't get that creamy, you know, bokeh. You can't get that depth between your foreground and the background. But you can if you look at the shot there. You know, that shot, you can see the separation. it's not fantastic, but it is there. And on, you know, other scenes, if the background is further away, that background was really close to where that model was, you know. It is fine. And if you're using the Metabone Speed Booster, you'll get that separation even more. So I'm having no issues with the fact that it's a micro four thirds mount. No issues with that whatsoever. And because you're shooting either Blackmagic RAW or ProRes log profile, then you can, you know, you can bring up the detail a lot more than if you wasn't using a log profile or a RAW. I mean, the fact that it does all of that internally, I think is, you know, fantastic. I really do think that is, you know, a game changer. So there we go. That is my initial thoughts of the initial thoughts using it for, you know, a whole day when we went out filming. Wasn't impressed with battery life. I went through 3 batteries, I think, and I got about 2 hours worth of footage. No, I got less than that actually, but yeah. So battery life is not great, but the actual camera is fantastic. So you know, you can plug in something like, if you're doing the longer shoot, you can plug in something like a V-Lock battery, or you can plug in the bottom a battery grip. So, you know, there are workarounds to this. You can even power it via USB-C. So, you know, don't worry about the fact that, you know, the battery life isn't that good. Also, you can record externally to a USB-C drive. I use something like I've got it wired into my A10 Mini Pro, my Samsung S5. I've got the little adapter for it. So this goes onto a cage, this adapter goes onto a cage, and you plug your drive into there, and you get hours worth onto a SSD drive, depending on what size SSD drive that you buy. So there's so many things that you can do with this camera, but as I say, I love its image quality, I love its usability, and the fact that it's manual focus isn't a big deal because it's got snap to focus. And the app, as I showed you in my previous video, I haven't showed you in this video, but I use the app a lot. It's great. The app works really well. That adjusts everything: white balance, shutter speeds, exposure, you know, focus. Does rack focusing, it does it all. So, you know, a great app and a great camera. So there we go. That's my thoughts, initial thoughts. I will be doing a lot more. I'm going to be doing a comparison actually between that and my GH5 Mark II. This is my GH5 Mark II. This is a great camera as well, micro four thirds mount. So I'm going to be doing some video comparisons by shooting a log profile on my GH5 Mark II and the log profile ProRes log on me Blackmagic. And for the sheer hell of it, I might as well compare that with this camera from this angle, which is my Panasonic S5. So again, that's got Vlog built into the camera. I haven't had to pay extra for that. So I'm going to be doing a comparison between those 3. Many people do ask me what cameras do I use for filming these videos, and it does vary from video to video and day to day. But on this video, I'm using my Sony A7C with the f1.8 85mm lens as my close-up shot. That's this one here. And camera 2 is my Panasonic S5 with the S50mm f1.8 lens fitted to it. That's camera 2. Camera 3, which is picking up the close-ups, is up here, and that is my Sony ZV-1. That's picking up all the close-ups that you see here of me Blackmagic camera and what have you. And then camera number 4, which you can't see, is my ZV-E10. Now that's not connected into my A10 Mini Pro. That will be that'll be edited in afterwards. It's the only camera that I don't feed into the A10 Mini Pro. I can use that and sync that up with, you know, whatever I need. I'm playing with my iPhone 13 Pro with this follow thing with my DJI Osmo Pocket 4 gimbal thing, just to see, you know, for a bit of fun really, just to see how well that works and how I can sync that in to the footage. Although I do notice if I go out of shot, it loses me completely, but it doesn't pick me back up. As long as I stay in shot, it's actually pretty reliable, and it's following me pretty well actually. So yeah, that's quite impressive. And then obviously the computer is being fed into channel 4 on my A10 Mini Pro. So I've got a bit of a cold today, so apologies if the sound isn't great. I'm sure it's going to be, you know, pretty decent, so I've got a bit of a sniffles. It isn't the dreaded lurgy, but, you know, it's a bit of a cold. So there we go. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you found this useful. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so, and hit the like button if you like the content of my videos. Really appreciate that. Helps me grow the channel, makes it well worthwhile doing these videos. I really enjoy doing them, and the more people that subscribe and like, the better it is for me and for the channel. So really appreciate that. Thanks very much for watching, and stay tuned for more videos relating to video and photography, more about the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K and audio and what have you. So thanks again. Cheers for now. Bye.